Welcome back to the channel. My name's Izzy and today I'm going to run through year 13 but in a lens of stuff I wish I knew. Literally so life-changing if I knew this, just in terms of not just academics but also the other layer to that, so what to actually expect so you can like mentally prepare yourself, and just tips which would make it a lot less stressful for you. So yeah, if you don't know me, I'm Izzy. I was predicted 3 stars in maths, economics and history. I post a little bit of content on TikTok and Instagram, so you may know me from that, but if you don't, welcome. Yeah, I'm just a year 13 waiting on results day currently, so let me just share some wisdom before I forget it. Okay, no particular order. If you wonder why I'm looking down first, it's because my laptop's here, but we're going to start off with university. So firstly, take your time in applying to university. In that sense, I mean, look around as many universities as you can. I was a bit arrogant. I was like, I don't need to look around them. I just kind of know where I want to go. I got the feels. But I think it's even more important when it comes to clearing, because now I don't really know much about many universities and what type of university I'd like. So more is worth it. Secondly, is more important, but don't idolize a university to the extreme. So you may have a big dream of like Oxbridge or a London uni or I don't know, like something like that, and you picture yourself in it every day. I think this is something a lot of people do, but that can be so toxic because you don't need to attach your identity to a university when you're so much more than that. Don't like say, oh, I've always wanted to do this, so I have to do this. If you've just randomly decided to change, just consider all your options again. Like if you've always been stuck on Oxbridge, but then suddenly you visit it and you're like, oh, this isn't for me, then maybe it's not for you. Like maybe it's just genuinely not for you. Or it could be, and then you visit it and you're like, actually I do want to apply. Obviously that's why visiting is so important, but at the end of the day, don't just force yourself to like something because you think you're going to like it. Number 2, this kind of ties into number 1, but I'll explain that at the end of this. So mental health, I think year 13 you have to go with the flow. This would be my take on the mental health. If you start predicting how you think you're going to do or what universities you think you're going to get into, this is where it really eats away at your mental health, because it's like you've got this playing on your mind all the time. And so if you can kind of space yourself away from this and just focus on the day-to-day. And this also connects to the first point about university, because online you see a lot of, oh, that person got 5 out of 5 offers to university. Most people do not get 5 out of 5 offers. I got 3 out of 5 offers, and that's just how it is sometimes, and I didn't even want to share that, and that just shows you like the kind of environment around university offers. I think like most of the people that are posting online get 5 out of 5 offers, but that's not the normal, especially if you're applying to competitive universities. And I thought it was the normal going into year 13. I mean, most of my friends, like, we didn't all get 5 out of 5 offers, and I thought we were all gonna get 5 out of 5 offers. Like, I go to quite I keep saying 5 out of 5 offers, oh my god, I go to quite an academic school and people didn't even there. So it's like, that is the way it is, you know what I mean? You can't expect it. With balance during year 13, obviously super hard, and it gets more difficult towards the end. So, but what I would say is the importance of balance is understanding that you're more than academics. So if you're really good at sport, really love reading about something, have a passion for the course you want to study at university, like you love reading business books, you want to study business, no particular example, that's what I want to do. Or you have a side project you're working on, this kind of thing. It's so important that you remember this during your exams. So like during my exams I was like, oh, I'm gonna get a B, I'm gonna get a B. Yeah, so what, you're gonna get a B, you might go on a slightly different route in life, but it isn't the end of the world. Like, it genuinely isn't the end of the world if you remind yourself this, that you've got more foundations to yourself. And if you find yourself saying, no, I solely am academics, think what you value other people for. Like a few people I'm like, wow, they're so academic, I aspire to be so like them. But at the same time, like, is it the academics which I aspire, the grades which I aspire, or is it just like them as a person? They're just so nice alongside that, and I value that even more. So just think, maybe a solely academic person is a bit boring. Like, you want to spice up yourself. What would people say about you that's not solely academic, which is kind of like, you want to hold on to that, you know what I mean? I hope that makes sense. I really hope that makes sense. Okay, saying that, I will get on to some academic tips at the end and a bit more about stress. A-level holidays. So A-level holidays, obviously, like, you're probably thinking about it now and you're like, oh, that's stressful, like, oh, booking it with the group. All I can say is book a holiday, like, genuinely. Not only get you through A-levels, but more so in A-level summer, you don't want to be like just sitting around waiting for results day. Having a holiday, having something to do is super fun, and you actually deserve it. Like, you may think, oh, I just want to save my money, which is fine. Like, if you want to save your money, save your money. I genuinely respect that, because obviously university is so expensive. But at the same time, like, I am so looking forward to my A-level holidays. I did not think A-levels were going to be that hard, to the fact which I would need a holiday. But I remember being during A-levels and being like, oh my god, imagine if I didn't book a holiday. That would be devastating. Like, I'd be revising with like one of my friends and being like, don't worry, we're going on holiday soon. Just like 30 more days, you know what I mean? So I'm going to do a short bit on academic tips, because I genuinely wish I knew this at the start of year 13. Firstly, organisation is key. I'm one of the most disorganised people, which I look organised, but I'm not that organised. So you need to make sure all your folders are organised. When you're going to be revising, each thing potentially is organised. I didn't really do that though. What your weaknesses are is organised, because this is so important. Because it's such a long duration of time in which you're studying, you need to make sure you're on top of your work, you're not missing deadlines, because you'll just fall further and further behind. And being organised makes revision so much quicker, because you can be like, oh, that's in that folder there, that's in that folder there, and boom, I can get to work. But sometimes I find myself like, wait, where is that sheet? Where is that sheet? And then I have to email my teacher like, where's the sheet? Where's the sheet? And it was just such a mess. So genuinely, like during the summer, you have the chance to get organised. So, you know, or if this is the day before you go back to year 13, you've got one day. No, I'm joking. But like you can just make sure you're organised through the year, basically. In year 13, you obviously need to know the year 12 content as well. So having as much in your long-term memory as possible is really an advantage. So for an example, for my economics paper 3, I'd barely revised paper 1 for about 3 weeks, but because I had it in my long-term memory, I genuinely knew all the content already. So there's like only a few things you can have in your long-term memory like solidified, but like the more you can get in there, the better it is. But I'm sure there is more advice on that out there. Okay, and then lastly, just one quick tip about in terms of academics is spaced repetition genuinely was key for me this year. I just want to emphasize that so much, because if I had missed like 2 weeks in my spaced repetition schedule, I had like an Excel spreadsheet, but if I missed a week, it's like, you just forget it. You genuinely forget it. And then all your revision prior to that is just wasted. I'm really doing hand actions, but yeah, if that makes sense. So say like you repeat like what you repeat every day, and then you repeat every week, and then you repeat every like 2 weeks and that kind of thing. If you miss one of those weeks, then you're gonna have to go back to the start again. So spaced repetition and sticking to a schedule in terms of organisation is definitely one of my biggest academic tips, which personally would have made my life so much easier when it came to the exam. So yeah, this is just all from my perspective. I don't want to like, you know, there's probably conflicting information out here. Lastly is stress. So there is a lot of stress through year 13, and it kind of comes at different pressure points. So firstly, it will be any interviews you have or tests you have at the start of year 13. Luckily I did not have that, but that's very stressful for some people. And then it's kind of coursework deadlines. So coursework deadlines, and then also the UCAS deadline can be super stressful. But then you have universities as well, and applying and waiting on UCAS is very anxiety inducing and very stressful. And then lastly, you have the actual A-levels, which I think personally, and I think most people would agree, is the most stressful period. So the way everyone's stress is distributed is very different, which I've like noticed amongst people. So if you have coursework, like friends, they will have less stress towards the exams, but more stress kind of in creating a portfolio or finishing their essays and that kind of thing. And then if you have like medicine friends, they'll be more stressed towards the start, but then everyone's stressed towards the end, obviously, because it's the final big deal. But just so like understand when you're going to be most stressed, and then when you can take time off. So it'd be really nice. I would have loved if I was like, actually, like, Izzy, like this weekend you can relax because you don't have that much upcoming. You can genuinely take the weekend off. So yeah, that's really important. And then in terms of that as well, say you've had a really stressful period, you need to celebrate what you've achieved. So for instance, I managed to do really well in my coursework, and then I should have celebrated that rather than being like, okay, back to it now, I've got to work for the A-levels, because it is such a long duration. You do not have time and the mental capacity to always be stressed. So yeah, that's so important. So yeah, I just wanted to say, if you have any questions on what I've said, because I'm a big fat yapper, literally just let me know, because obviously you might want clarification or you might want a perspective from someone else, and I'm sure other people can respond in the comments. So yeah, that's the first thing. And then secondly is, what I really enjoyed doing this year is following creators who are currently at university, because then you get a glimpse into different universities and the actual daily life and social life and stuff. But then you also understand what you get something to look forward to. You get something to kind of idolize, which is really exciting. So I'll be posting lots of university content hopefully, and I'll also post results day to keep it realistic. But apart from that, I will see you soon. So yeah, make sure to subscribe.